I'm sorry, what?
Can you picnic?
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, easy enough.
Whoa, can you Surry?
Surry? Can I Surry? Well, I don't know, it depends. What does that mean? What does it mean to Surry? What does it mean to be able to Surry?
Come on and Surry down.
Seriously, what on earth are you talking about?
Surry, Surry.
I don't know what that means. For real though, Laura Nero says the word Surry over and over and over and over and over again in this song, Stone Soul Picnic. I counted it, and if I'm right, I think she says it 37 times. So, does it matter that Surry is a made up and totally meaningless word? Nope, not even slightly. So, first things first, who is Laura Nero? Not particularly well known today, Laura Nero is a bit of a songwriter. Though not completely without her own success as a recording artist, her songs seem to sell best when covered by others. We have Fifth Dimension, Blood, Sweat and Tears, Fifth Dimension, Peter, Paul and Mary, Three Dog Night, Barbra Streisand, Fifth Dimension. Seriously, Fifth Dimension covered loads of her songs. And lots of very famous artists cite her as a key influence. Everyone from Elton John, Kate Bush, Todd Rundgren, Steely Dan, Alice Cooper, Patti Smith, Cyndi Lauper, Elvis Costello, Stephen Schwartz, loads of them, and really quite a diverse bunch. She sadly died in 1997 at the age of 49 of ovarian cancer, so she wasn't rock star young, but still pretty young, and she is still, to this day, remarkably underappreciated in spite of being covered or admired by virtually everyone who knows her music. I mean, I only found out about her after looking at the songwriting credits on the second Blood, Sweat and Tears album. Turns out she wrote the best song on that album, And When I Die. I'm not scared of dying, and I don't... Which, by the way, is also covered very well by Peter, Paul and Mary of Puff the Magic Dragon fame.
Who would have thought it wasn't really about a dragon, huh?
What do you mean?
Okay, so look, every video I make has to basically just massively simplify the song that I'm talking about. You can't really comprehensively cover everything a song does in a short YouTube clip. In fact, you can't ever really comprehensively explain a song. That's the point of having the song, right? I can talk at you about genre and, oh, this chord, this instrument, this lyric, blah, blah, blah. Ultimately, though, you can't reduce art down to the specifics. All this interpretation or analysis or whatever is necessarily simplifying the subject matter. And this song is a perfect demonstration of the inadequacy of interpretation, because seriously, what the hell is she even banging on about? If you've not already heard the song Stone Soul Picnic, go give it a listen and then come back and we'll go through this. If you already know it, let's just dive straight in. Right, now, back to that word, Surry. It is actually a real word, or at least it has two homophones, which are words. We have Surrey, the county in England, spelled EY at the end, and Surrey, a doorless carriage that was popular in 19th century America, spelled the same way as the county. But Laura, in this song, is using the word as a verb rather than a noun, and it's always been written S-U-R-R-Y in the lyrics. So it seems like it is an entirely new word. When she was asked by her producer what Surrey meant, Laura said it was simply a nice sounding word, which is actually as good an explanation as any other. It's often assumed that it's a sort of portmanteau or contraction of let's hurry, but it kind of doesn't matter. In fact, it would be a diminution of the song, I think, to find a singular, conclusive solution to the problem of working out what the song means. And that's because there's a difference between something having a meaning and something being meaningful. Laura's made-up word doesn't have a dictionary definition, so is ultimately meaningless, but it becomes meaningful through its use in the song. And that meaningfulness is predicated on the word's meaninglessness. What? Huh? Honestly, I swear sometimes I don't even know what I'm talking about. Let's try to build this point bit by bit. As I've already said, Laura sings that one word, Surrey, a lot, and almost every line of the song is repeated at least once. The chord progression is also similarly limited. Most of the track is just a 2-chord vamp, only really going beyond that at brief moments. It's not like there's any crazy time signature shenanigans going on, nor are any of the instrumental parts particularly hard to play. It's a pretty moderate tempo too, simple stuff then. But it's dynamic as hell with these subtle tempo changes, the odd shift into a swing feel. Laura goes from gentler singing into this kind of almost obnoxious yelling. We have layers of instruments, layers of voices. Generically speaking, we could sensibly just call it pop, but it's also quite show-tuney in a way. It definitely owes a lot to the music of the Great American Songbook and Tin Pan Alley. The chords are quite jazzy. It's also pretty soulful, hence the title. Basically, the song's kind of a mess. Not in a bad way. It's messy. Maybe that's not the right word. It's played tightly, and I don't think there's a single note out of place. Laura was definitely known to be very particular in the recording studio. Maybe I just mean to say that it sounds chaotic. It's all over the place, particularly at moments like this. It has an edge. Just take Laura's vocals. She's always comfortable with just fully belting the words out at volume. She does that aplenty here and occasionally gives us some of her very distinctive falsetto. And right at the end, we're given a sort of army of Lauras yelling Surry at us. I mean, if you're going to make up a word, you may as well squeeze every single little bit out of it that you can, right? So, what's your point, Jacob? Yeah, what is my point? Well, what I'm trying to get at is that this song, like all songs, is really about the experience. And its meaningfulness, not its meaning, is imparted to us experientially, i.e. the experience of listening to the song. So it's those things that I mentioned before, the changing dynamics, the interaction of the instruments, the vocal melody, the vocal style, the lyrics, all that stuff. What sets Stone Soul Picnic. What sets Stone Soul Picnic apart from most pop songs, though, is the extent to which the lyrics refuse to be paraphrased. You'd struggle to explain to anyone what the narrative is or what the subject of the song really is. I mean, I guess we can vaguely say it's about a picnic, but then it's not really about any normal picnic, and we aren't given any concrete details about it, really. Nothing happens. There's nothing about actually being there, nor do we know who would be there or where it is. It's just some descriptions of some cool stuff you might presumably find at this crazy picnic if you were to go. It's a bunch of lines that definitely feel cool and intense.
And from the sky come the Lord and the lightning.
Without really meaning anything concrete, all set to this exciting, dynamic, slightly chaotic music that picks you up and just takes you along for the ride. Now, I don't want to pretend that it's the only song in popular music that has difficult to decipher lyrics while still managing to strike that deeper emotional chord, nor that it is the most extreme example of that. After all, arguably the most famous rock song of all time, Bohemian Rhapsody, works in much the same way. Ask anyone what they like about Bo Rap, as cool kids call it, and I think it will ultimately just boil down to it being, like Stone Soul Picnic, a hell of a ride from start to finish. But this isn't really the norm. Most popular music has something much more concrete as its conceptual or lyrical foundation, even though, as I say, the experience of listening to the music is the important bit. Take, say, Mr. Blue Sky by Electric Light Orchestra, which sort of is straightforwardly about a sunny day, or Sweet Home Alabama by Lynyrd Skynyrd, which is just about how great Alabama is. Even for those songs, what they're about isn't the most important thing. It's not the meaning of the song that's truly impactful, it's the meaningfulness. When it comes to it, this is basically just the whole show, don't tell thing that we've all heard, even though I think that phrase misses part of the point. Sweet Home Alabama is telling you something, after all. Lots of things, actually, about the South and about Lynyrd Skynyrd's home state. But it's also showing you a lot, and that's the important bit. That's the bit that the music and the song as a whole does. I think rather than saying show, don't tell, we should probably say something more like show something beyond what you're telling, which is a little less catchy, but what are you going to do? So for Stone Soul Picnic. So for Stone Soul Picnic, its effectiveness really comes down to how it's showing so much more than it's telling. The lyrical centerpiece of this song, the word Surry, well, what better way to show a lot while telling very little than to use a made-up word without any clear definition? It doesn't particularly tell us anything, which obviously helps tip the show-to-tell ratio massively in its favor. Imagine if, instead of that made-up word particular to this song, and as far as I know, not used anywhere else, imagine if, instead of Surry, we had a normal, prosaic, everyday verb in its place, like hurry.
Come on and
Hurry.
down to a stone soul
Okay, I made it sound really bad there. That's kind of cheating. But the point is, it wouldn't work as well, would it? It would be doing the same thing grammatically, sure, but not artistically. The very fact that Surry is unique to this song means it kind of ends up meaning the experience of listening to Laura Nero's Stone Soul Picnic, which makes it kind of circular and self-referential. I think that's cool. So it's been a while since I've done one of these, but I think it's time for another. Let's have a good old-fashioned food analogy. If you're new to my channel, please bear with me. I have like an annual quota of how many times I have to do this, so this is me fulfilling that. I think it's fair to say that food doesn't have any concrete meaning. In terms of content, it's quite clearly meaningless, but a dish or a meal can be meaningful. Maybe it reminds you of a specific time, a place, or a person. Quite often we associate certain ingredients, the way they smell or taste and the way they look, with certain cultures, and there are certain feelings, vibes, or atmospheres we associate with those different foods. For example, making sangria in summertime or apple crumble during autumn. These associations are culturally specific, of course, and to some degree they're often just based on cliches and stereotypes about countries and cultures, but they're still there. Food is kind of the ultimate show don't tell in a way. It can't tell you anything at all. I mean, you could write something in frosting on a cake or use alphabeti spaghetti, but that's just cheating. The point is, our enjoyment of food is pretty purely experiential and abstract rather than theoretical and concrete, and it's certainly not semantic. Music, the pitches and rhythms and timbres that we hear, it's much the same. And luckily for us, this food analogy works especially well with Stone Soul Picnic. And luckily for us, this food analogy works especially well with Stone Soul Picnic. It's almost like I scripted it this way. After all, it's a picnic and Laura sings about red, yellow honey, sassafras and moonshine.
Red, yellow, honey, sassafras, and moonshine.
That sounds pretty good to me. So good, in fact, that she sings it twice.
Red, yellow, honey, sassafras, and moonshine.
We're not actually given any specific context for these foods and drinks. I guess we're to assume that that's what's available to consume at the picnic, but we're not explicitly told that. There's no verb or subject in the phrase, just a list of things that are there, passively waiting for you to surrey on down and experience them, if you want them. So, I think that this is just a perfect song. It's great. A lot of its brilliance comes from the fact that it shows a lot while telling very little. As I've said before, that's all songs to at least some extent. It's all art, but this song resists even the most basic interpretation of concrete meaning. Where is it set? Who is Laura talking to? Are we to take it all literally? Is it a metaphor for something? What the hell does Surry mean?
No one knows what it means, but it's provocative.
And when all is said and done, what is the song doing? What is it showing us beyond what it's telling us? It's kind of obvious, come on. You know, it's a drug song, right? It's trippy. It's a trip. It's about getting intoxicated. It's about smoking weed or taking acid or something. It's in the title, right? We're given a description of this strange, exotic, tempestuous, intoxicating, psychedelic picnic, and we're encouraged to surrey down there. The fact that Laura uses a verb without any obvious definition as the song's centerpiece really makes the song about the ride, or trip, to the picnic. Everything about the song is primed towards the sensual or the Epicurean. It's all about, and I've used this word a lot in this video, about the experience. This sort of perfectly experiential nature makes it, for me, one of the ultimate psychedelic songs. I think it's easy to lose sight of this, but psychedelic music is, properly speaking, less a genre and more of, well, a musical representation of an experience. That word again. Jefferson Airplane psychedelia was based in blues. The Grateful Dead is more roots rock, country, folk, and bluegrass. The Beach Boys' sun-drenched songs about feeling sad take their cues from doo-wop, Phil Spector, and Gershwin, but are no less trippy than the others. And Laura's psychedelia owes more to the soul, jazz, brill-building pop, and American standards that she grew up on, but it's still psychedelic. As I've said, All music is about the experience rather than just some concrete meaning, but psychedelic music is even more so than usual. Some music that we listen to is for dancing, some is for worship or prayer, some feels like it was made for driving or running or whatever. Psychedelic music is primarily something of an attempt to either emulate or enhance psychedelic adventure. So for Stone Soul Picnic and all psychedelic music, rather than saying it's about drugs, maybe it's better to say it's about recreating or mimicking the experience of taking drugs. And Surry, on that kind of view, means getting high, I guess? That's why I like the word so much. On the one hand, it could simply work as let's hurry, you know, literally just meaning let's get going and have a picnic. You could also argue that since it sounds the same as Surrey, the carriage, it retains some of that meaning. Maybe we take a carriage there. On the other hand, as I said earlier, surreying is just what we do when we listen to the song. The word can't be separated from the song Stone Soul Picnic. It hasn't really entered everyday language in any broader sense. Mental note though, use Surrey more in day-to-day conversation. And the word has this final hallucinogenic meaning. You get to the picnic trip by surreying down, taking drugs. Not that you have to be high to enjoy it, or that you have to do loads of drugs to like psychedelic music. That obviously isn't the case. Most people who like, for example, Sgt. Pepper's, have not taken the copious amounts of acid that the Beatles did while recording it. Good psychedelic music is more than just druggy music, and Stone Soul Picnic is great psychedelic music. It's sort of a shame that to whatever extent it's recognized as a great song, which is half as well as it deserves,
Half as well as you deserve.
the psychedelia element is even less recognized or acknowledged today. It's an important part of the track, and I think the song should be listed with pride of place in the history of psychedelic music, alongside Berlioz's Symphonie Fantastique and Hendrix's Are You Experienced and the Ozric Tentacles music. Not only is that about enriching the scope of what we recognize as psychedelic music, but also about getting more people interested in the deeply underappreciated Laura Nero, who was very good. The end. Anyway, I made this one a lot more concise than I usually did, so I'm sure I've skipped over tons of details and left a lot unsaid. Is there anything obvious that you think I've missed out or wasn't 100% clear on? What do you think of the song? Is it new to you? Are you already a big fan? Am I completely wrong in everything I've just said and I'm a total idiot? Please leave a comment and tell me what you think. And most importantly, please like and subscribe and share my video with both your friends.